Ready.
Hi everyone, and welcome to the second session of the Calm Birth Blueprint with me, Charlotte Robson. I run Hello World Hypnobirthing, and Richelle Isaacs. Today we're going to be talking about nutrition and mind and body techniques for trimester one and managing all those tricky symptoms that we come across when we find out that we're pregnant. So Richelle's up first, and I'm glad to say that this time she's got clothes on.
Thought I'd actually spruce myself up and put some clothes on this time.
Maybe, I mean, the temperature's dropped, and this is where we're at. So over to you, Richelle.
Fantastic. Thanks, Charlotte. So, what we'll go through today is nutrition for the first trimester, and the nutrition really changes throughout the trimesters. So, with this first trimester, we're going to be looking at the nutrition and the nutrients and some of those symptoms that you can get. So, the first thing is it's important to note that no extra calories are actually required at this stage to what you would normally have. So, general calories for an average woman, and obviously it does depend on weight, are 1800, around 1800 to 2000 calories a day. So you wouldn't require any extra additional calories on top of that. It's later on in later trimesters that you would be looking to add on more calories. The main role and the job of the first trimester is that it's critical for the fetal developments, but specifically of the brain and the spine and the organs that are growing in the fetus. So it's really important that you get the proper nutrition that is going to help the fetal growth, but that is also going to support your energy and your well-being, because this is the first time that you're going to have, or maybe not first time, but you're going to have something brand new growing inside of you. And that is going to take a lot of energy, and that can make the mother very, very tired. So we need to make sure that the mother is able to support her energy, but also making sure we're getting those nutrients in that are going to really reduce the risk of any certain like birth defects. So there are certain nutrients that we specifically hone in on during the first trimester in particular. The first one is folic acid or folate. You might be getting, depending on if you've had a practitioner or IVF involved or a doctor involved, you might be taking folic acid or folate already, but it's very important that you do start that in the pregnancy. You want to be having a minimum of 400 micrograms a day, but not going too high because that can be harmful. So you want to be having 400 to 600 micrograms a day, a supplementation. Some people think the more the better, but absolutely not. If you're having too high a dose, that can actually be dangerous also to the neural development of the baby as well. And you get your folic from your supplement, but you can also get it from your leafy greens and your beans, and you can get it from some fortified cereals as well. The next nutrient is iron. Iron is something that comes up a lot in pregnancy. I have a lot of clients that come through and say, I have low iron, I'm anemic. They've tried me on this iron supplement, that iron supplement. And it's because the iron is what is supporting the blood volume increase in the body to support your blood, but also the blood to the baby. So it's really important that you are getting enough iron in the diet. This is the best way to do this is from things like red meat, but you can also get it from plant sources like lentils and beans and spinach. But it's really important to bear in mind that iron, when you're getting it from plant foods, it needs a little bit of help in order for the body to absorb it. So one really good way of increasing that absorption is to pair your plant food. So pair your, for example, your beans with a food rich in vitamin C, so something like broccoli. And when you put the two together, it's a really good way of increasing that absorption. If you are still struggling with iron, it's important to speak to a practitioner. It could be that you need to look at the type of supplement that you're on. Maybe they've put you on thermos fumarate. Maybe they need to put you on a different type. But also it's important to know that our body needs not just the intake, but it's how we absorb it. And we need things like stomach acid at the right level to support our absorption. So if anyone needs any more support with that, please get in touch with me or another practitioner as well. Another nutrient that's really key is sometimes not touched on, is iodine. It's really important for the early brain development of the baby, and also to support your thyroid function, which is a gland which supports metabolism, but it's also very involved in hormone regulation, and it's really impacted when you get pregnant. A lot of people might already have thyroid issues, or they might already be on levothyroxine to support the thyroid. When they're pregnant, those levels will often go up, and the amount of medication that you need will often go up. So it's really important to bear in mind that we can do things ourselves to support the thyroid as well. You can get iodine in fish and dairy and egg yolks, but you should always be very mindful about just taking any supplement for thyroid, because it can actually make things worse. So always speak to a practitioner. Never just buy iodine off the shelf. It's fine when it's in foods, but not in the supplementation without support. Another nutrient that's really important is calcium, really important for developing the strong bones of you and the baby. And I think a lot of people think that the best form of calcium is dairy, but actually that's not necessarily true. When you're getting dairy, there is a very high proportion of calcium in comparison to magnesium. And what happens when you have a very high amount of calcium in comparison to magnesium is it can actually reduce your body's ability to absorb magnesium. And that becomes then in a cycle, because you don't have that magnesium, it then impacts your body's ability to absorb calcium. So actually, a lot of the time with milk and dairy, you can actually end up having very poor calcium utilization, basically. So it's important to bear this in mind. And one of the things you also need for calcium is vitamin D. And vitamin D, again, really important for making sure that you are getting that calcium into the diet. Vitamin D, again, if you're having things like dairy, it's fine. You can get some calcium in dairy. But if you're having skimmed milk, they are removing all of the fat. So they're removing all of that vitamin D. And they're making it even harder for you to get that calcium. So if you are having dairy, make sure it's full fat. But it's important to know that a really good way to get your calcium is actually your vegetables, your green leafy veg. And again, that's how you're going to get your magnesium, your potassium, and all those electrolytes that you need. And we will talk, I was going to say, in terms of, I know some people get nauseous. There are really good ways that you can support that if you are struggling to get those healthy foods into the diet. I know a lot of mums say, I just want to eat fast food and fatty food. And I completely get that. There are cravings, but we do need those nutrients in. So I do recommend personally a very fantastic high quality fruit and veg capsule that you can take, which when you're struggling to eat good foods is a fantastic, easy way of getting those nutrients into the body. Another nutrient that I wanted to touch on also is omega-3 fatty acids, super important for brain and eye development of the baby. So it's really important to get oily fish into the diet. I think people get worried, but as long as it's only 2 portions a week, it's fine. And as long as it's smaller fish, so you're not getting that buildup of heavy metals. And also things like chia seeds and walnuts are fantastic sources of omega-3s as well. So I think the final thing I wanted to touch on is it's important to just listen to your body. I think a lot of people, they do get worried about what they should eat. But I think just listen to your body, eat when you're hungry, and rest when you're tired. So I hope that's been helpful. And I am happy to open it up to any kind of questions about the first trimester.
I have one from me, Richelle. I was just wondering about, sorry, I've got a frog, but I was just wondering about the sort of pregnancy vitamins, you know, like Pregnacare and Well Woman and all those kind of things. Like, what's the deal with those?
Okay, so firstly, always check the back, because I've actually found some pregnancy supplements do not have 400 micrograms of folic acid. So I've had clients come through who are taking something, for example, from America, where there are different regulations and they've got something like 800 or 900 of micrograms of folic acid. We personally wouldn't recommend that unless you have been found to have a genetic condition and you need more folic acid. So that's the first thing. Check that it's the 400 mics of folic acid and 1,000 units of vitamin D. The other thing I'd say is be very mindful about what you're taking. If you're taking something off the shelf, it can be impacted by light And it generally, I don't recommend personally pregnant care. I recommend things that have been stored very carefully in a place where it's really dark and cool, and I know that there's been no light impacting it in the shelf, and it's been stored correctly as well.
All right, yeah, that's really interesting. Thank you. So we've got a couple of questions. So how can I manage morning sickness while still getting enough nutrition? I think you touched a little bit on this, but I think this person's looking for a bit more info.
Sure, sure. So, firstly, it's important to have small, frequent meals. That will really help with nausea. And another thing is a lot of the time when people aren't eating or they're being sick, it can disrupt their blood sugar. And then when your blood sugar is disrupted, that makes you then more nauseous. So, what I'd say is every time you're eating, ideally, try and at least get a little bit of protein, some healthy fats, and some carbohydrates, ideally slow ones, things like brown rice, brown bread, but really trying to get that balance of the protein, the healthy fats, and the carbs. Because if you're having all of that together, that's going to help to at least balance the blood sugar and at least reduce the nausea a little bit. Um, Things like you might have people heard ginger, but having, dry foods are really good, like crackers, dry bread. Really trying to make sure you're getting fluids. If you really can't, get food down, at least get fluid, water, herbal teas, broths, that will really help as well. I tell everyone to just try and avoid things like strong smells that can make you really nauseous, like greasy foods. A lot of people say they crave them, but they can actually make you more nauseous. Um, and a really good tip is also to wear something like a travel sickness band. That can be helpful. And also, you can actually take vitamin B5, but specifically in its activated form, sorry, B6 in its activated form is a really good way actually of helping to support nausea. You can't go and just take that off the shelf. Ideally, you need to speak to a practitioner about dosaging. But I've had some really good results with that.
Oh, that's really, I never knew about the travel bans. That's a really good tip. Thank you. Right, another question we've got is, are there foods or drinks I should completely avoid in early pregnancy?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people will go straight to the NHS website, which is perfect. Definitely things like soft cheeses. It's all about the fact that a lot of these will carry listeria, which can lead to kind of serious illness or miscarriage. So soft cheeses, things like brie, camembert need to be avoided. You should be sticking to pasteurized milk for safety as well, because we know it kills the bacteria. You should be avoiding raw meat, liver products as well. They've got a very high amount of vitamin A. If you're having vitamin A in vegetables, it's preformed, it's beta carotene, it doesn't count, it's fine, it's safe. But vitamin A in animal sources like liver A is too high for the body, and it can be harmful. You should only have a lot of people just avoid raw eggs completely, but technically they're fine if they carry the British Lion stamp. I would just avoid raw eggs, to be honest with you, to be on the safe side. But just generally with eggs, just make sure they've got the British Lion stamp. That ensures they're free from salmonella. You also just want to be trying to make sure you're keeping caffeine to 200 milligrams a day, ideally as well. They found that if you're having too much caffeine, it can actually encourage miscarriages and low birth weight. And alcohol should be completely avoided as well. And you will hear in other countries, some countries, they say nothing raw, not even like raw vegetable. You shouldn't have salad. You shouldn't have raw nuts. In the UK, we with our guidance, you can have vegetables and nuts raw. It's okay.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? Because like women don't change from here to a different country. So like, why are the rules different? It's like strange, isn't it? But
Yeah, yeah, based on different studies and exactly. So, but it's you just stick. We've done enough research to know that it's fine to eat salad and nuts.
yeah. Well, I've got one more question coming. I've got can I still do normal exercise in my first trimester?
Yes, absolutely fine, as long as you don't have any medical complications or restrictions that have already been told to you by a GP. It actually is very good to do exercise. It boosts your energy, improves your sleep, which you're going to be potentially struggling with, and it can also help with things like gestational diabetes. So, stick to safe exercises, walking, like running, swimming, prenatal yoga, but just avoid anything where, you could be potentially falling, things like skiing, for example. Just saying, just in case.
Skateboarding.
Yeah, leave them out.
Brill. I think that is all the questions we've got in the chat at the minute. So thank you so much, Richelle. We'll move on to my death by PowerPoint. No, it's not me death by PowerPoint, but I do love a PowerPoint slide. So I'm just going to share my screen there. Okay. Right. Can you see that, you guys? Can you see that okay?
There we go. Yep, just come through now.
Okay.
All good.
Real. Well, like I said before, I'm Charlotte and I run Hello World Hypnobirthing, and I'm going to be talking about how hypnobirthing techniques might sound like they're for trimester 3, but we start them early. We start them whenever we can, and they're good for general life stress anyway. I still use my hypnobirthing techniques mostly on the school run, yeah, when I'm losing my marbles. So I have 3 children and I used hypnobirthing for my second 2 births. The reason why I didn't use it in my first birth is because I was ignorant to the fact that I needed it. I was probably the most anxious person you could ever meet. But I was like, oh no, I don't believe in all that sort of, it sounded like voodoo to me. Very closed-minded. But obviously now I'm very open-minded, and hypnobirthing really helped me have more positive birth experiences. So that's why I tell people about it literally all the time. You can't shut me up. So trimester 1, you've just done that pregnancy test. It's either flashed up pregnant with the number of weeks, or some lines have appeared and you're like, woohoo! And then you're like, oh my God, I feel sick all the time. I'm quite tired. How am I going to manage the next, well, let's say near 40 weeks with all this stuff happening in your body? So some of the common symptoms of trimester 1 are nausea or morning sickness. So some people, I say just feel sick, but having experienced it for the first 20 weeks of most of my pregnancies, just feeling sick is actually really draining as well. And obviously some people have very intense morning sickness. So that can sometimes lead to, you know, sort of hospital treatment and that kind of thing. Fatigue and low energy. So just imagine you're creating a whole new human. So your body's kind of like, oh, we're not going to give you the energy for work today. We need the energy to build a brain or a pair of eyes or some ears or something like that. And so you will naturally feel more tired and just a little bit more like low in energy. It can be a time when you feel a bit anxious. Your hormone levels are starting to fluctuate quite a lot. You'll find your estrogen going up, and there's lots of oxytocin flowing around your body. So it can just mess with your emotions a little bit, and how you deal with certain situations can change. Sleep disturbances are really common, so struggling to get to sleep because, well, there's a lot on your mind, you're building a human, but also if you have been feeling ill during the day, sometimes as well, I don't know why I call it morning sickness, because it's literally like sometimes 24 hours a day. So yeah, it can really affect how you're sleeping, and when you don't have much sleep, or you have disturbed sleep, then that can really affect how you deal with different situations as well. And then just like early aches or discomfort. So when baby starts to grow, you might not recognize it as being able to feel them actually growing, but I think you can sort of feel that change happening in the uterus. You can feel sort of the difference in the lining, and everything else that's sort of forming. I actually feel like I could feel like the moment the embryo sort of embeds itself in the side of the uterus, because I do think it's a very specific sort of sensation, and maybe at the time you think, oh gosh, what was that? But when you reflect, it probably was that moment. So there's a lot happening in your body, especially in the first trimester. So the $24 question, how can hypnobirthing help? So hypnobirthing techniques are basically there to help you feel calm and to reconnect with your body. So what we're looking to do is influence how your body feels by using your mind. I think a lot of people have sort of forgotten how to use their mind in a more subconscious way. So we obviously do a lot of everyday tasks like driving and working and looking after older kids if we've got them. But this is the part of the brain that we are trying to use that is not always as engaged. So it's the part where we're trying to relax, basically. And the ways we can use hypnobirthing techniques is with breathing, visualization, affirmations, and then relaxation for sleep. So I'll go through each one of those. So there's one particular breathing technique that I think is really useful for like all stages of pregnancy, and general life. So when you control your breathing, you'll find that your nervous system starts to slow down. And that really helps regulate the amount of adrenaline or cortisol that you have pulsing around your body, which obviously neither of those are particularly useful for us unless we're wanting to run away from an escape bear or something like that. So the wave breathing technique is that we inhale for 7 through the nose ideally and exhale through the mouth for 7. And it equalizes the breath to the point where we should see a drop in our shoulders. So when we hold tension in our body, we hold it a lot here in the chest and shoulders. When we do this breathing technique, we should see those shoulders be able to just drop down. This is a good technique for when you're in labour as well. But if you're trying to manage symptoms like sickness, nausea, sleeping issues, getting your breath back under control can be really, really useful as well. So that's just one to practice. Positive visualizations. So in labour and birth, what we try and visualize is what our birth's going to look like, because we're trying to trick our brain into thinking that we've done it before. But where we use the visualization in the first trimester is to try and help ourselves feel safe. So it might be that you picture a particular place that you like, a holiday that you've been on, a walk that makes you feel really nice, or just even like your mum's house, because you always feel like a kid when you're at your mum's house. Something like that. So it's a really vivid image in your mind of somewhere that makes you feel really safe and comfortable. And this again will just help manage those any sort of adrenaline that you're feeling, and it will sort of trick the brain into feeling more relaxed, and that will help your body relax and hopefully ease some of those symptoms as well. When we've got adrenaline and cortisol sort of in play in our body, it can really sort of exacerbate any symptoms that we are having, and a tense body as well. It's just going to make things feel a lot more intense in that way. And then affirmations. So I was doing a little piece about this the other day, because how many times do we tell ourselves something positive about ourselves? In labour and birth and in later pregnancy, we use affirmations to help us to believe in ourselves, basically, help us to believe that we can give birth to this baby, and that everything will be fine. In early pregnancy, we use positive affirmations to help ride some of the waves, shall we say. So if, for example, you are struggling to get off to sleep, there might be a lot going on in your mind about how the pregnancy is going, is the baby okay, how am I going to be as a parent? So even writing your own affirmations can be really useful, just like I trust my body in this pregnancy, or I trust the process of pregnancy. And that can just really help, again, relax your mind, relax your body, and that will just help specifically with things like sleep, but also with any other symptoms that you are experiencing as well. And then relaxation for sleep. So you can Google any of these, really. There's plenty of them on the internet. But looking at hypnobirthing scripts or recordings that can really help you relax before bedtime. So the best time to do this is like 10 minutes before bed. And then you're nice and relaxed when you're trying to get to sleep. As I say, sleep is really important for you. It's important for the development of the baby as well. So anything you can do to relax before sleep. I think it's a really good habit to get into anyway, just to like calm yourself down, put your phone away, do some of the breathing techniques as well, and maybe listen to some calming music or a hypnobirthing script or something like that can just really help you have a much better quality sleep as well. So this is my challenge. Time to get started, all you trimester 1 month. So if you're in the thick of it and you're like, I am never feeling better, literally, why on earth am I having a baby? It's time to get started with these techniques. So give yourself 10 minutes a day to practice the things that we've gone through tonight. I know it can feel like, oh, I don't have time, I don't have time. But the thing about growing a baby is that it's going to teach you to make time for yourself, because you have to prioritize your health and well-being above pretty much everything else. So 10 minutes a day, I would say at bedtime, get that soothing track on, a little bit of like a room spray or something like that, something that sort of triggers that sense of smell that's really relaxing. Get your visualization underway. breathing techniques. Get your birth partner involved because they need to be on the job as well. And hopefully that will help with some of those symptoms that you've been experiencing. God, I think I went through that at about a million miles an hour. But anyway, any questions?
No, that was really great because I think a lot of people think it's just for the third trimester, but it's so true. Like there's so much that we can do. I mean, question from me, I have a friend at the moment who's just got pregnant, but it's been like a long journey for her to get there. She had breast cancer and everything. And I suppose with the visualization, I suppose you could also visualize. Yeah, it's quite like you could also visualize maybe the embryo implanting, couldn't you, as well as somewhere nice.
Yeah, definitely. All that envisage them growing. Like when I was pregnant, I always looked up like, oh, at week 18, what are they growing? You know, like ears or toes or whatever it was. And then you could sort of close your eyes and imagine, oh, your baby's getting hair or it's getting, you know what I mean? Like, yeah, it's quite nice to envisage what the baby's doing as well.
That's a really good idea. I'm gonna take that to her definitely. Two questions came through. One of them kind of touched on, but when should I start hypnobirthing?
Yeah, I mean, I usually start a course at around 28 weeks, so there's time to practice. But the hypnobirthing techniques I teach are very specific for labour and birth. But I would say in terms of using hypnobirthing techniques in early pregnancy, there's like literally the earlier the better. The more you can regulate your breathing or that kind of on demand, the better, because then you'll be fully prepped for labour and birth and beyond. So yeah,
Yeah.
it's never too early. But I would say the ideal time to maybe look at a course, if you want to do a course, is around 28 weeks.
Okay. And the last question I've got is, so this is my second pregnancy, and my first really wasn't great. Can hypnobirthing still help me?
I would say absolutely. I work with a lot of second time mums who, unfortunately, and it makes me feel really sad, that they haven't had the best experience. And I definitely did not have the best first experience with my first baby. But thanks to hypnobirthing, I had amazing two experiences. So I would say it absolutely can work. You do have to put the work in, so you have to practice the techniques and you do have to believe in yourself, but hopefully through whatever course you do. It doesn't have to be with me, obviously. It could be any of the sort of hypnobirthing courses that are on offer. Hopefully, during the duration of that course, you learn to believe in yourself and you learn to believe in what your body is capable of. So yeah, hopefully, if you want to get in touch for any more information, just let me know.
Brilliant. Lovely. Oh, that was such a good workshop. And we've got two more, second and third trimester.
Yeah, it's all going to be good. I'm trying to unshare my screen, but oh, there we go. Nope, hang on. God. Oh, there we go. Stop share. It's quite obvious, really.
Mate.
I am not
And
a
yeah,
technical
anyone wants
wizard.
and if anyone wants to reach out to me or Charlotte, just get in touch for our details and we're both happy to help.
Yeah,
So thank you everyone for coming as well.
yeah, and this is recorded, so we will post it onto YouTube so you can rewatch at your own leisure. And yeah, send it on to anyone you know who's pregnant, family, friends, work colleagues. We just want to spread the word and make, help people have better early pregnancy experiences because it is tough that first little bit, like you're not really telling people because you're worried and things like that, and it can feel quite isolating. So yeah, the more shares, the better, please.
And see everyone soon.
Yeah, great. Thanks, Richelle.